Okay, let's unpack this. If you want a masterclass in how a city can leverage its, well, chaotic past to fuel a really ambitious, creative future, you have to look at Galway.
You really do.
We are deep diving into their long-term cultural roadmap. It's called the Cultural Sustainability Strategy for 2016 to 2025. And the title they've given it is Everybody Matters.
And that title, it's so essential because it captures the sweeping scope of this plan. This is Galway's first comprehensive framework.
Right.
And it's designed to treat culture not as some luxury item, but as a utility, as something pivotal to economic, social, and environmental health.
So it's the center of everything.
It's the absolute center of local development for both the city and the county.
And what immediately jumps out from the sources is that, look, this isn't a city that has to invent its cultural identity from scratch. Galway had a massive head start.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, just look at this list of credentials they were already carrying. You've got UNESCO City of Film,
Which is huge.
the European Region of Gastronomy in 2018, and this one's incredible, the European Greenleaf Award in 2017.
Yeah, that combination is pretty unique.
To be Europe's most environmentally sustainable small city while also being a film and food powerhouse, I mean, that's not a cultural resume, that's a cultural empire.
It is. And the genius of the strategy is that they didn't try to fit all that into some narrow box. They took a step back and just asked, what is culture here in Galway?
So how broadly did they define it?
Oh, comprehensively. It includes the predictable things, arts, theater, music, but, and this is critical, they broadened it to include the landscapes, the built environment, folklore, traditions, even sport, food, and of course, language.
Language is key.
It is. And this breadth, that's their core sustainability lens. It's this recognition that all these elements are intertwined and they all contribute to long-term quality of life.
It feels like they're framing themselves not just as a European city, but very specifically as an Atlantic city. How does that geography play into this?
The sources really emphasize that. The location perched right on the edge of Europe, staring out at the Atlantic. It's historically fostered this unique independence.
And a creative explosion, right, since the 70s.
The sustained creative explosion, yes. That ocean connection is absolutely key.
And you see the results of that everywhere. And for you listening, these aren't just, small local events. These are international standard bearers. The Galway International Arts Festival.
Groundbreaking stuff.
The Druid Theatre Company, the Hugh Street performances by Macnas, and the Galway Film Fleet.
And that film fleet is so notable. It's not just its status, it's the only film festival in all of Ireland that can nominate for the Oscars short film category.
Wow.
That tells you the caliber they're operating at.
You've got the literary side with the Curt Festival, and then this deep, deep tradition with the Cruinniú Numbad, the gathering of the traditional boats.
That mix of high art and deep-rooted tradition.
But it all relies on people, right?
Yeah.
Specifically young people. The demographic data is fascinating. The population of 20 to 24-year-olds in Galway is apparently double the national average.
That's the engine of the city. It's
Yeah.
a palpable energy source. Absolutely.
And then you layer the language on top of that.
All right. Galway contains a huge part of the Gaeltacht, the designated Irish-speaking region, and it has this remarkably high proportion of active Irish speakers.
How high are we talking?
I mean, statistics are just astonishing. The Galway Gaeltacht has 75.2% Irish speakers.
75%.
And if you take all the other Gaeltacht areas in Ireland combined,
They're lower?
they come in lower than that. It's not just a linguistic strength, it's a massive cultural differentiator.
So what does the strategy do with that? How do they leverage it?
It's baked right into the foundation. Strategic Aim 2 on cultural heritage and Aim 7 on information, they explicitly aim to protect and promote this unique bilingual status.
And not just as a museum piece.
No, what's fascinating here is how they try to turn it into a modern advantage-making language, a living, contemporary part of the city's creative output.
Okay, so on one hand, you have this incredibly dynamic, youthful, forward-looking city. On the other, you have a deep, challenging past. And that brings us to maybe the most tangible, yet most hidden piece of this deep dive, the medieval city walls.
This is the historical weight they have to carry. I mean, Galway's history as a defensible town goes way back to the 13th century. The original walled city was tiny, just 11 hectares.
And the source of detail how these walls evolved over centuries. They mention mirage charters in the 14th century. For anyone listening who hasn't studied medieval city finances, what exactly was a mirage charter?
It's essentially a medieval tax. It was a royal grant that allowed the town to levy duties on certain goods coming into the city,
To pay for the walls.
specifically to fund the construction and maintenance of the defensive walls. So goods coming into the port of Galway literally paid for the city's defense.
And that defense system was constantly being upgraded. By the mid-17th century, they had bastions like the Lion's Tower, which were serious fortifications.
They had to be. They were designed to withstand artillery, which was a necessity during things like the Cromwellian siege of 1651.
The irony, again, is that after centuries of defending the city, those same defenses became obsolete.
Completely. And as Galway grew, the walls were torn down, repurposed, or just buried. The conservation plan says they're either removed, buried, embedded, or altered.
Which is a polite way of saying.
It's a polite way of saying most of your 13th century heritage is now hidden under modern pavement or literally built into the walls of 19th century buildings.
So if I'm visiting Galway today looking for that medieval core, where can I actually find it?
There are really two main places where the past is visible. The most famous, the most photogenic part is down by the river at the Spanish Arch. It's an impressive standing section.
Okay.
But the longest single preserved stretch is hidden entirely inside a modern commercial space. The Ayr Square Centre, a shopping mall.
Right. And here's where that tension between preservation and commerce just comes into sharp focus. Tell us about the Ayr Square situation, because the sources suggest it's a bit of a conservation nightmare.
It truly is. I mean, the wall is viewable inside, which is good for access. But the setup is so problematic. The developer tried to create a setting for it, but they installed what the source calls a sham historical medieval streetscape right next to the genuine 17th century masonry.
Wait, a fake medieval backdrop next to the real thing?
Exactly. It completely undermines the authenticity of the real wall. You have the genuine article standing beside a theme park imitation, and it just confuses the public.
And what about structurally? Were there concerns there?
Yes, serious ones.
Yeah.
When the center was built in the 90s, a glass roof and a pedestrian bridge were built to, it seems, bear directly onto the medieval wall.
That sounds like a major violation of conservation principles.
It's a fundamental one. You don't use an ancient monument as load-bearing infrastructure for a shopping mall. It just shows the incredible pressure a developing city puts on its historical assets.
It sounds like the city is literally built on a foundation they can barely access. This deficit must have been a huge driver for this new strategy.
Absolutely. The Everybody Matters strategy is, in part, a direct response to these heritage challenges. The core philosophy is integrating people, place, and process. They know they can't hit their future goals without fixing these cultural deficits.
So let's look at the financial side of that. Strategic Aim 5, culture and economy. How big are the goals they're setting?
The targets are what you might call a moonshot. The audiovisual and film sector was already worth over $72 million, but the strategy set a high growth scenario.
And what was that?
Aiming to generate a forecasted $650 million in direct sales and employ nearly 30,000 people in the creative sector by 2020.
Hold on, aiming for $650 million. That's a nearly tenfold increase in just 5 years. I mean, given the infrastructure deficit you just mentioned, isn't that wildly optimistic?
That's the critical point. They're saying, we have the talent, we have the legacy, the festivals, the youth, but to reach that target, we must invest.